Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing.
CieloDrive.com Audio Archives.
The tape that you can keep it here until I'll make my copy and send it to you. But the thing is that I wanted to get your point of view. You see, the accountant says it's all your fault, and her attorney says that she didn't have anything to do with it, and was just a robot. And I don't feel that that's an adequate explanation, so I came here to give you a fair chance to present your point of view.
Well, see, here's the thing.
I don't work for the
You're
state.
not giving me anything. You're asking me for something.
That's true.
Don't ask me for something in the name of giving me something.
That's Shirley. Oh, damn it. So don't make me again. You see, the rest of the tape is sounds like a stampede of buffalo.
Fix a wheel on that car, what difference does it make to me? I don't care if you go over the cliff. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
But I can come and warn you. I can say, look here, you're not doing this right, and this is fucked up here, buddy. If you can't see it, and everyone says, we don't want to hear what you got to say. I said, all right. You don't want to hear what I got to say? I got to go sit in a prison cell for 7, 8 years for you to wake up. You know? It's like you hold the best part of it down and reject it, project a negative on it, and say that it's my fault. Am I convicted for being God? And you convict me and put me here for 7 years, and then you come and ask me, is it really true that you're convicted for this? I mean, did you really do what you're convicted for? We don't know whether you really did what you're convicted for.
That it would be.
I mean,
That would
basically,
be strange, but that's not what I'm asking you.
well, basically it is. Basically, you're saying, did I make a robot out of Leslie Van Houten?
No, I'm asking you what your influence was on her.
My influence on everybody I meet is influence, just like he influences me. I influence you. We influence each other every day.
I agree with you.
If I tell you the truth about something and I don't bullshit you, and I don't play no games with you, and I'm honest with you, and I'm sincere with you, and you trick yourself in that, that's your problem, partner. If you can't be honest and sincere and open and truthful, then it's not my fault. Why should I go to jail because you got a bunch of fucking people that are working for you that aren't honest? They'll lie, they'll cheat, they'll do anything they can do for a dollar bill. And there's only one thing they understand. There's only one thing they understand. You know what it is? Fear. If you do it, we'll cut your goddamn head off. It's that simple. You know, if you tell them that, then they say, oh, you're a bad guy. If you don't tell them that, then they keep kicking you in the mouth. You know, in other words, if I say to this guy, well, I'm being treated wrong, and I wasn't given none of my rights, so I'm going to have these many people killed. Oh, my goodness, you're a terrible beast. You can't do that, you can't do that. I say, why? It's what they do to me every day. So it's related to the mind. Not my mind, not your mind, not any one particular person's mind, but the mind, the social consciousness. People had Leslie Van Houten long before I had her. Her mother had her first. Her dad had her, her parents had her, her school had her, the TV had her, the movies had her. She was in a convent for a Buddhist. The Buddhist had her. And then you come up and say, well, you had influence over her. Man, I've seen the broad a few times. Certainly I had influence over her. I have influence over everybody I meet. But that doesn't mean that I necessarily directed her to be herself. If I showed her the way to herself, and she decided that she wanted to do something, no one's going to wind her up and make her do anything. How can I control your mind? Can I control your mind? Can I make a robot out of you?
No.
Can you control mine and make a robot out of me?
No.
If I tell you something that makes sense to you, can you make up your own mind and make a robot out of yourself for a better understanding?
I could.
You see what I'm saying?
I do see.
If I tell you that if you don't get on top of your thoughts as a doctor and as a psychiatrist, you're going to lose this whole motherfucking country and the world because the nuts are outthinking you. If I tell you that you're not on top of anything but an old dying bitch and she's already dead, would that wake you up? You'd say, no, you're a bad guy. I didn't make it. I didn't set your house on fire. I come and knock on the door and say your house is on fire. You say, well, you dirty son of a bitch. Don't blame me for your children. You raised your children. You programmed your children, and you made your children. The judge that sits on that bench is responsible. And if he hasn't got the mind to be responsible, and he hasn't got the thought to be responsible, then wake up to where your man is and where your judge is. He's your better understanding. He's the better part of yourself. He's not against you. He's your servant, man. He's not out to defeat you. He's out to uphold you.
John, why don't you keep your going fine? Why don't you just keep going on? Don't want someone to sort of...
Would you right out there?
Yeah.
If you want to leave, just,
Yeah. If I want to leave, I'll just leave.
Yeah.
Yes.
But just when you're going to leave, just walk out so away.
Yeah.
Don't walk.
Okay, thank you, Mr. George. Yes, I understand what you're saying, and it's helpful to me to understand that. That's all I want to do is understand what you're saying. Can you say more about what you remember about Leslie Van Houten?
There's nothing to remember about her. I never paid that much attention to her. I don't pay any attention to anything.
Yeah.
I pay attention to what I'm doing right now. That's where my mind is, right here.
Did you like her at the time in York?
I don't like or dislike anything. I look at it as it is. I don't make any value judgments on it. So you have to realize I was raised up in the penitentiary. I don't think like you people. You people think in dollars and cents and time and value systems that are outmoded and outdated. I don't think of that. Can you imagine a 1776 law book controlling the man from Thomas Jefferson's mind, who was controlled by King James's mind, riding in a jet airplane going 3,000 miles an hour, thinking about a constitution that's been dead? Come on, man. Your children got better sense than that. The 10-year-olds are coming up and saying, wow, man, I can see through that. I said, what are you doing? You're just playing a game with all a bunch of dead people. You know, those books, you've got to rewrite them. You've got to change them. You've got to get down to earth.
What do you think's going to happen to the world?
What do I think is going to happen to the world?
Or to this country?
That's up to us, isn't it?
I agree with you.
We're honest with ourselves. We're truthful with ourselves. And we do what we're supposed to do for ourselves. What you do for yourself, don't you?
Yes.
You wouldn't kick a shoe shine guy in the mouth, would you?
No.
If you
Or
got a
anybody
good,
else.
yeah, you got a good servant, you wouldn't make him the bad guy, would you? Just because you could play a good guy.
No.
See, bad and good's relative to change. Destruction, creation is relative to you. It's relative to what you want. All I want is myself. I just want to be left alone. I asked the police to leave me alone. They wouldn't leave me alone. I begged them to leave me alone. They wouldn't leave me alone. If I, as a unit, as an unconscious unit, a body of men, a body of mind, did to you exactly, I say you as I speak to all in society,
I understand.
if I did to you exactly what you've done to me for the last 30 years, there wouldn't be any of you left. You can take my children, put them in juvenile hall, give me a piece of paper that I don't understand, tell me to go to a lawyer, and he'll lie to me. He'll cheat me, he'll take every nickel I've got, and I still won't get my children back. Then if I'm man enough to step out of line and do anything about it, and say, hey man, this system is not functioning properly. This system is not based upon the will of the people, the system is based upon the will of the dollar bill. Now that's all right. I don't say that's wrong, but don't put it out here in front where everybody can see it. You just flaunt it in front of everybody and say, well, we're all crooks. You say, well, if you're all crooks, what the hell am I doing in jail?
What would have happened if the government had let you alone in '69? How do you think your life would have continued?
I would have adjusted. See, let me explain something to you. When someone calls you up, if I come up to you and I say, are you looking for trouble? I project that into your mind. Are you looking for trouble?
Yes.
If you got 50,000 police out there looking for trouble, they're going to find trouble. They're calling trouble up. The procedure is calling the trouble up.
Yes.
Well, I'm dead in that thought. You can't call me up for that. You can't check my balls out by playing like an asshole in front of me. So the cops come up and said, what are you doing wrong? I said, nothing. They said, you've got to be doing something wrong. I said, no, I don't have to be doing nothing. Oh, yes, you're doing something wrong. I said, look, you can't run no fear on me, and that doesn't work on me. You know, I don't be called up like that. What I didn't realize is the people up around me were being called up by it. In other words, I influenced those people. Most assuredly, I influenced them. I influenced them in a totally negative way compared to what you would call positive. In my mind, it was a positive way. You know, in other words, the discretion and interpretation held in the discretion over the words positive and negative are relative to the value system that you live under. But if the value system you live under is not honest and truthful, then how can I be honest and truthful with the value system that can't see the honesty and the truth? You know, the truth is not a gun, and the truth is not a knife. Even though if you pull out a gun right now and you shoot me and you walk out of here, you're considered the truth.
But what do you mean when you say you had a negative influence on them from society's standards? What was that?
Negative in the respect that I was truthful and honest with them, and society's not truthful and honest. They don't want no truth. They don't want no honesty. They don't want to see it. That's the reason you're here now, getting this from me on the backside, so the public don't have to look at it. See? In other words, you're.
No, I'm here because I do want to hear your point.
Well, I know.
Nobody sent me here. It was entirely my own idea.
Yeah. Well, you can take this and present it to the court through your understanding, and then the public don't have to be exposed to me. But the funny part about it is you've already lost your social consciousness. You've already lost the will of the people. So it's just a matter of time before Nixon's stock falls down. Anytime you got a kingdom and you got a king that shows himself alive, the rest of it's gone. You forget it. You can't hold anything up like that. You hold it up to that atomic bomb because people don't want to blow the world up. But you can't hold the minds up.
Do you want to say anything at all about what things you did day by day on the ranch?
I lived day by day for myself. I treated everything as myself. It says that in the Bible. If everybody did that, it would work out all right. See, when I was left in prison, man, I treat you as I would treat myself.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I did everybody else. If they responded to that, and they seen love in that, and they seen truth in that, and they seen wisdom in that, knowledge or whatever, that's what they seen. It was what you see in me is in you. If you see me as a decent sort of fella, hey, I'll wait, we'll have a beer, we'll be decent sort of fellas. If you see me as a bad guy, then I'll reflect bad guy to you. You come up to me and you say, you want to fight? I'm not thinking about fight. But when you project fight to me, I say, well, no, I don't want to fight, but what are you thinking about it? And you say, well, no, I'm not thinking about it, but a lot of people get killed out here. I say, well, what are you thinking about, getting killed out here? And you say, yeah. And I say, well, maybe you can go on the freeway and get killed. I don't particularly care to kill you. Because if I have to kill you, then I have to go back to jail, and I don't particularly care to go back to jail right now. So go play that negative game on the freeway. But they would call me as being the negative because I might have to cut the guy's ear off, knock him down, beat him up, and get him away from him. So I wouldn't have to kill him. In other words, I've walked with life and death all my life. And to me, it's just a part of existence. I never treated anybody poorly. I don't think you'll get anyone up on the stand and say that I ever lied to them about anything. I'm not talking about a philosophical truth or an idealistic truth. I'm just talking about the simple, childlike truth. I'll tell you what I see, and I'll be honest with you in what I hear. And what I have to say for me, I'll tell you from me, and what someone has told me, I'll tell you that someone told me to say this. See? Sure. In other words, I just take off my face and be myself. And myself is that I'm an animal, and I'll do anything it takes to survive. It's that simple. And I look out for this guy right here. Number one, I've always been that way, and I explained that to all the people I was with. I said, you be for yourself in the world that you live in. You want to save your world? They said, yeah. I said, well, then you save it the way you save it. Ride your own beef. You dig what I'm saying? I wish Leslie could get out. I wish they all could get out. I wish everybody could get out. But I don't have any control over it. Give me the control over it, and then I'll reset it for you and show you how it goes. If you don't, then I'll just set myself until you do. You know, like all I want is me, and to be left alone without 1,000 policemen stomping on my guitar and breaking my door down and disturbing my peace. In the Constitution it says I have the right to pursue happiness in my own direction, the way I feel it. Sure. It's as long as I don't break the law, and I didn't break the law, but I will add this to your law. You don't have to break the law to do anything you want. Only an idiot breaks the law. I spent 22 years in jail to learn how not to break the law. I don't break the law. There's no reason to break the law.
What were your views back in '69 about life and death?
Life and death. Life and death are. My view on life and death doesn't change any perspective to anyone else's thinking. They have to figure that out themselves. And but you have to figure your philosophy out for you.
As you know, people claim that your view was that killing people was a desirable thing to help save the society.
No, I never projected that. That was your district attorney that projected that. In other words, you're stuck in your own district attorney's thought.
No, I'm also thinking in terms of what Leslie Van Houten says.
All right, a guy comes up to me, he says, I'm spinning out, Charlie. I don't know what I'm doing. Is everything, what's wrong, Charles? What's wrong? I said, hey, man, everything's all right. He said, sit down and relax. He said, you mean everything's okay? I said, sure, it's all right. I said, everything's all right. Now sit down and relax. He said, you mean whatever I do is okay? I said, sure, man, just sit down and relax. Just don't go off and spin out, sit down and be cool. He said, you mean everything's okay? I said, sure, it's all right. So 2 days later, he comes back and says, I killed somebody. And I said, what do you mean? Well, you said everything was okay. You said everything was all right. That didn't mean what he took it to mean. It meant what I took it to mean. I hold my thought for me, for what I say. He holds his thought for him, for what he says. I don't tell him what he should say or do. That's his business. I don't judge him. He judges himself. So I come to the courtroom and they all judge me with their confusion. I don't have any thought in that, man. I've already been through all this before. In other words, I've been 22 years in jail before I even got to this one. When I got out, I was on top of Nixon's thought already. I'd already went through, what's his name, Chief Douglas and all those guys, man. I already went through all that. Nixon claimed the thought and jumped off with it. Seen the writing on the wall. I didn't write it on the wall. Soul wrote it on the wall. Social consciousness wrote it on the wall. You wrote it on the wall yourself with your TV movies and all your vicarious death thrills and your skinny, what do you call them, selling the sexual perversion bullshit. And then you put that back on what's called the family and you say, this is what we were doing. This isn't what we were doing at all.
What were you doing?
We were doing many things, but it wasn't what you said we were
No, but
doing.
that's what I'm interested in finding out, what the family was doing.
He was doing the day, each day for that day. Join this day right here for today. If he was at the ranch, I'd say hi.
Yeah.
He'd say hi, and I'd say, you want a cup of coffee? He'd say, yeah, I get you a cup of coffee.
Sure.
If you smoke cigarettes and joints, get you a joint. We sit there and smoke a joint and just enjoy the day. And I'd say, you know what I believe I'll do? I believe I'll go down and fix that fence. That'd be a beautiful thing for me to do. And you couldn't have paid me $1 million to do it. But I would go down and work a few days on my own and have a good time. And, because life is the struggle and the experience of existence to me. Some people don't like the struggle. I do. I like the struggle. That's the reason I like the desert so much, But it was just that day, right that day. I'm one step ahead of my caseworker. He's on my ass 24 hours a day. I'm one step ahead of the police. They're on my ass 24 hours a day. I'm one step ahead of 4 or 5 nuts that are looking to commit suicide, and they want me to help them. I'm 4 or 5 steps ahead of all that madness that you got outside. I'm just trying to live a little life, man, before I have to go back to the goddamn penitentiary. In other words, I was willing to eat out of the garbage cans and stay out there. I've turned big money down. I've turned money down, games down, and chances down to get into big money if I wanted it. But man, I wasn't a part of that. I was trying to just get off on the side and do whatever I was doing, which did affect a lot of people.
Has Scientology had any influence on that?
No, not that much. I knew some guys that messed with Scientology. There's nothing that had any influence on me, man. 30 years in jail, I've been just 30 years in jail. And everybody's had influence on me, but nobody's had influence on me. I learned that everybody lies to me except me. I don't lie to me. And I got bound to the truth for myself, for the world that I live in, and for my children. And I started telling the truth. This was about 15 years ago. And I started telling the truth. You always meet a few guys in jail that you better not lie to. So I've always been in truth with those guys.
Yeah.
A lot of your gangsters, your old-time gangsters, they were like my dads. I picked up every thought they had, from Frankie Carbo to Frank Costello, a lot of guys like that. Coppola brothers, a lot of Italians, a lot of what they call the original family, the family from Sicily. And I learned different ways of thinking and so on.
What about LSD? What effect did that have on your thinking? Or on the thinking of the family members?
I took LSD and it heightened my awareness a little bit and made me aware of a few things that I already knew. We were not all that much into drugs. Everybody say we were, but that's not the truth. The truth was we took acid whenever it was around. I never went out of my way to get it. Sometimes it would be maybe once a week, sometimes once a month, sometimes 3 times a month. It wasn't into no speed, no heavy drugs, a little hash and a little grass. Just the blasé kind of get low, the social thing.
You know how many mics of acid would be used when you did use it?
Yeah, one little tap, one tap. So, in other words, that mind control game, that's not the way it was. That's not the way it was at all. In other words, right belongs to anybody who wants to be right. Knowing belongs to anyone who wants to know. You know, it's like doing belongs to the individual. You know, I can be, and what I do is relative to what I am. Well, if I tell the truth and I look to the truth, even though I might be a crook, I'm still an honest one. Because even to be a crook, you've got to be honest to be on top of the crime. If I'm a snitch, you see what I'm saying? Then I would know everything that's going on in the world.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. But being that I don't snitch, and the people that know I don't snitch, all I have to do is whisper to them. And they say, really? I said, yeah. I said, well, damn. And they know I don't snitch. If I snitch, then I've lost my word to myself. Can't snitch. Because I've popped down with it, and I've been too long in jail to play a game like that. Personally, I have the solution to all those problems.
What is it?
I don't think I can give it to you. Because if I gave it to you, I don't think you could initiate it. First you have to understand the laws of the gun and the knife. Do you understand the laws of the gun and the knife?
No.
Well, it took me 30 years in jail to learn it. And it's the truth. Without me, or with me, it's still the truth. And if I give it to you, then all you do is you turn around and you stick it back on me.
I'll try not to do that.
Well, you'll take it to the court, and when you tell it to the court will say, hey, that's right. Then they'll implement that, put it into motion, and it falls right in my ass again. In other words, see, the judge up there on the bench is actually me. Older was me. You know, I told Older, man, I said, you look like a little boy up there. You know, and I climbed up on the bench with him to show him that, you know, it wasn't the fear that held me in that courtroom. It was my own love, my own understanding. I ran thought through the courtroom. And had you let me be my lawyer, I would have straightened that thought out. I would have explained it. I would have put it out just to where everyone could have seen what really happened and what really caused all those things to happen. And it could have been ironed out, and it could have been explained. And it didn't have anything to do with my personal want. Naturally, I wanted out, you know, as much as anybody else would want out. But they denied me that. Judge King denied me that. And he was really clever when he did that, you know. I reflected all to that courtroom that was being reflected to me in order to give that courtroom a good outlook on what I was going through so they could understand what they were going through. But they were too wise to see that. They were too smart, and they were much better than everybody else, so they tripped over themselves. But when they tripped over themselves to catch themselves, there's no way you're going to catch themselves unless you bring me back in the courtroom. Unless you either give me the judge, give me a judge's role, or either give me my case to be a lawyer, to where I can present my case properly. And I was willing to go along with the guidelines and the rules.
Morning, Cheryl. How are you?
Oh, Christ.
You want to listen?
Court. There was a revolution at hand in that particular time. There was a lot of thoughts running in the revolution. So I reflected many of those thoughts also. because I'm reflecting the social problem that we all have, and we've got to clean it up, whether we like to clean it up or not, because it's us. It's the world we live in. You know, it's like I can serve you beyond your capacity to serve. Then I can turn back and I can say, hey, you know, you guys are not serving yourself. You're not serving survival. You're serving destruction. You're not serving a positive attitude, you're serving a negative attitude. And they say, well, no, you're the negative. I say, well, yeah, I'll take all the negative. And everybody else is the good guy, and I'm all the bad. But the bad has to be cleaned up as well as the good. In other words, you have to seek a balance in a new value system, in a new way of life in the United States of America, or you're not going to have anything. You're not going to have anything. But a bunch of confusion, a bunch of children rising up, killing their parents every day. And I didn't start that thought. That thought was already started in Chicago before I even come on the scene. And like Lyric dumping his garbage on me. You know, I didn't start the drug culture. You can't hold me responsible for the drug culture. And how can you hold me responsible for your children? You can't hold me responsible for any of that. Because I'm dead in that thought. I told the judge, I said, God, I'm dead in this thought already. I was already through with you. Well, I went through that. But put it back on me. Now, what they hold me to being here is what's running outside. You see what I'm saying? In other words, they take me to court and they call me all these things, and they release all that thought into social consciousness, and they put it in the money, and it's running in the money, and it's moving in the money, and it's moving in the minds of all the people. See? But that's not me. That's not me. I never forced nobody to do anything, and I never use any fear on anyone to make them do anything. I told them about fear. I said, fear is a very strong control on the mind. And I said, fear is something that you can project on people. I said, but at the same time, we know that we're sheep. We're all sheep in the eyes of God. We're all children in the eyes of God. But in the same instance, don't let someone run fear off on you to get you to do something that you wouldn't want to do. And I run that to them. I explained that to them. And I explained to them whatever they asked me. I explained to them what they did with it. Their affair. It's their business. The family belongs to them as well as it belongs to anyone who sees that the family is the world, man. It's all in the family. It hasn't got anything to do. It isn't my family. It isn't your family. It belongs to everybody. It's everybody's family. And if we don't straighten up our world, we're not going to have a family. Now, I will tell you some of the things that I have done. And I think they'll have relative value to your situation. Do you have children?
Yes.
Do you love your children?
Yes.
Do you wish your children to have an earth to live on when you pass?
Yes.
Beautiful. You're the guy I should be talking to.
You want another cigarette before we continue?
No.
I wasn't giving you the
Do you
same.
smoke?
No. But I was going to go out and get you one.
No, that's very
Okay. Tell me what you had in mind. I'm interested.
I took a girl called Blue. I took her name was Sandy, and I said, I'm going to call you Blue. She says, all right. I said, do you see the water? She said, yeah. I said, do you see the dead ducks and your oil slicks? I said, do you see the birds dying, butterflies dying, blues when it's coming? She says, yeah. I said, air don't cost anything. It's free. That's the reason it's not worth anything. Because anything that doesn't cost anything isn't worth anything. I said, do you know how much longer you've got in your air? She says, I don't know. I said, well, General Motors have been working for 100 years to make a motor machine. They got all these motors working in planes and boats and cars and everything you could think of. And our life depends upon these motors. We need these motors to live. Without these motors, we wouldn't exist. We would perish. But at the same time, these motors are taking our air. Now, you see all the DDTs and the hairsprays and the soaps and the floor waxes and all the things that go down the drain when you shower and they go into the water. I said, the marine life is dying. Plus, they're killing 100 whales a day. I said, now, you can see the world in your mind, can't you? And she said, yeah. I said, it's dying. And if you don't fix it, woman. She said, well, how am I going to fix it? I'm just one woman. I said, there is only but one woman, and you're her. And I said, well, you're Blue, and you're supposed to fix this. She said, how do I fix it? I said, I don't care how you fix it. I said, do you love it? She said, yes. I said, well, get on your job and fix it. They said, well, what do I do to fix it? I said, woman, I don't know what you do. I'm not aware of your world. I'm a visitor here. But I know you have this problem. And you're going to have to get on this problem if you're going to have children that survive. I said, you love your little child? She said, yeah. I said, well, then you're going to have to fix this in order for your children to survive. And the same thing I would tell you. If you don't start working for the world you live in a positive way to survive, you're not going to survive. It's that simple. Well, the people that are set for self-destruction, and they won't get their heads out of that money, they're killing all of us. So they said, well, you can't kill nobody. I said, well, I can't kill them. You're killing me every day. You're taking one day of my life every day. That's the point of progress. So here we are in outer space, talking about let's shoot Starlinks to outer space, and everybody's looking up. Let's look down the ground and see what we're doing to the Earth. And that's where we're at. And I say, Green, I say, I'm going to name you Geometry, and I'm going to plant you here, so that you can help fix your Earth. I said, do you love your world? She said, yeah. I said, would you give your life for your world? She said, yes. And she did what she did. She went through some changes. I'll take the responsibility for it. You can let the children go, but you broke your own law again. And there's so many areas of thought. It's taken me 7 years to sit down and think through all of it. In other words, I've sat in solitary confinement and I've thought all the different areas of it in a proper perspective to where it's beneficial to me. Because that's the only place I can think from, is from the center of myself. I can offer this in respect to the world as myself. What you take from it, project on it, or cover it with is up to you. But it's only beneficial to you that you do what you do. That's the premise that I've been standing on all along, So,
Do you remember any discussions you had with Leslie about things like that?
Leslie's green, and she was a Geometry, and she was planted for peace. She was planted for the world. And there was a lot of conflict going in the music, and a lot of conflict going on in the social consciousness, and a lot of conflict going on, period. Well, the young girls somehow have a tendency to reflect that conflict. They either eat it up, get real fat, you dig what I'm saying, or they go through all kinds of changes because they're more open and susceptible to the social consciousness. In other words, that's the only thought they have to be raised up in. So actually, when she was exposed to me, it did affect her conscious levels, and it did affect her mind. And many things happened that she didn't have any understanding of, because she didn't see the whole picture. She only seen a part of the picture. She seen the green part of the picture. So I said, Green, this is you. This is for your love. This is for you that you do what you do. You can fix this, and blah, 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 blah. And I run that to her, and I said, Red, this is you. You're the Queen of Fire. If this doesn't happen, this doesn't happen, you can fix it this way, or you can do this, or you can do this. So I said, a rainbow with a spectrum of light. Red, green, yellow, gold, blue, all these different colors. And then it was locked up to your gas chamber and your thought, because that's where you keep your man. That's where you keep the Atman, or the peak of yourself, in the religious sense, in the spiritual sense. In the physical sense, you keep it in the White House and you keep it to other places. But in the spiritual sense is where my mind was running. Not in the spiritual sense as church, not in the spiritual sense as a preacher, but in the spiritual sense is that I really love the world. Because here's why. When I got to look at the world, I was 32 years old before I got off the cement, before I got out of this concrete. So when I got to looking at it, I said, wow, man, this is really beautiful. Other people didn't see it. They come up with their guns, shooting the lizards and the spiders and snakes and everything that moves. They'd be shooting with their guns and drinking, leaving their beer bottles and vodka bottles all over the thing. So I said, well, this isn't right either. So I go through a lot of changes with that. So I reflected that back on the woman. I said, look, you're a woman, goddammit, you've got to get on your fucking job here. You're not even on your thought. You don't even see yourself. I said, this is you. You're all the world. And if you don't get upon your own balances and you can't balance your own self, I said, I don't know what the hell you expect this little children to do down here. I said, because I'm going to tell you something, brother. When Nixon, when Ford, when Carter, when all of them overlooked the last little guy around, they've overlooked themselves. When you won't look down the last little corner, and that last little kid with shit in his britches and snot on his nose, and you say, that's the guy we're working for, because if he don't have no world to live in, if we don't leave him anything but an old fucking garbage can and a bunch of stinking politicians lying and a bunch of snake-ass lawyers, well, what are we leaving ourselves? What are we leaving ourselves? Nothing.
Did Leslie change as a result of your conversations with her?
Yeah, Leslie changed, but Leslie was Leslie, man. Like, I'm telling you the truth, I never had that much effect on Leslie, because how can one guy have effect over 30, 50 broads? I mean, there's 150 people coming and leaving that range. Let me ask you a question. Have I affected you just in the last 20 minutes?
Just by adding to my understanding.
All right, well, if you were around me for 4 or 5 months, what would you do? Would it affect you? Would you end up being a Manson follower and a robot?
No.
Well, what is a Manson follower and a robot?
I don't know what a robot means.
Yeah,
That's part of what I'm asking.
Our brains,
doesn't mean anything.
our brains go so far in its function, doesn't it?
Yes.
But when we reach the peak of our brain, then we can see the peak of all brains. In other words, like, if I reflect onto you emotions,
Sure.
and I say, you didn't know you could do that with your hands, did you? You just lock it up and sell. You spend 40 years to create this thought that I'm standing in. 40 years in hell to create this thought I'm standing in. And to ignore it is only to ignore your own foundation. It's the very rudiment that you exist on. It's the bottom of it. The thoughts that are running the street right now are thoughts that were said in the 50s and the early 60s. In the next 10 years, in other words, an example of this, I go to the county jail, I talk to a wino in 1945, and he'll tell me what's going on in the government and the world, and I won't understand it until 55 I hear the president talking about it, the same thing that the wino had told me. 10 years generally runs behind, 10 years, you know. So,
What about these campfire sings that Leslie told me about? What went on there? What songs were sung? What happened to the group at that time?
I was just saying, anybody, you can take a thought, create a circle with it.
Give me an example.
You can take a thought, create a circle with it, and everybody gets in harmony, and they all go, breathe. Relax their minds. Slow your mind down. We can get with what's next.
Exactly. But since our time is limited,
Yeah.
what did you talk about?
Well, see, you can't understand it, you can't come to it. In other words, you have to be able to come down to the thought that we see God first. All things are within the sight of you to understand. When you understand the inner sanctum of your own chamber of thought, then you understand that I'm sitting in there grinning at you.
What songs would you sing?
Just spontaneous songs and
Your own?
anything that would come up.
About the Beatles.
The Beatles, a lot of kids like the Beatles, but I wasn't that much. I liked the Sgt. Pepper album. I liked the Moody Blues a lot more than I liked the Beatles. The Beatles were all right, but the thoughts that other people got from the Beatles weren't exactly the thoughts that I got from the Beatles. Let me say this. It says in the Bible, and Christ was a witness to that wherever three are gathered, in my name, I'm there also. Well, anytime you got 4 or 5 kids singing in a group, you have the one of that. And even though the individual in that group might not realize what he's communicating, the group thought of that realizes what is communicating. And the reason that I see into this thought is that in jail, you learn the one of the penitentiary. You live in a 5-man cell. If you add all 5 men up, you've got a 6th invisible man. So I learned to think in that 6th thought. It's the same thing, you've got a cell of 10 men. I learned to think in the 11th of that 10. Or the same thing in the 13th of the 12th. Or the same thing in the 100th of the, in other words, like, and then you can take the whole world. The president represents the one of the whole country. And he's supposed to be up on that thought. But he's only up on the poles of that thought and the money of that thought and the issues that aren't really facing this country in that thought. He's not up on the real thought. He projects a thought that he wants to be, not the thought that is. In other words, the thought that is, they want to make that with a knife and a gun and a bomb and a plane, but that doesn't make it. That only holds it down and distorts it. One day, for the benefit of everybody, we're going to have to just get together, get some picks and shovels, and put some spit on our hands, and throw that money away and get a credit card system and get to work and fix the some bitch. That's all. And you can't fix it by blaming someone else. In other words, Leslie's not going to fix her world by blaming Charlie, and Charlie's not going to fix his by blaming Leslie, and you're not going to fix yours by blaming us. We've got to each take our share of the blame and say, yeah, man, I wasn't on top of myself, man. I didn't really understand what was going on in that spot, so I fucked up there, so I start all over today. And I do another day today. In other words, it's relative to how much you're pushed in your survival. When it comes right up down the street, says it, and you'll say, God damn, that guy was sure right. That guy was sure right. In other words, like, maybe we could have avoided this. Guy back east had just killed his parents and said he was one of Manson's angels. Yeah.
I usually don't read the papers.
Yeah. One of Devil's angels. conflict since the man began. So how the fuck am I going to be the blame for that? They run Watts down in '63, you know. So there's always been conflict between the races because they haven't had any medium. They haven't had anyone to go through that was honest with both sides of it. And there's always been the things that we have that we got to get rid of. We got to straighten it out one way or the other sooner or later. It hasn't got anything to do with me. You can blame me all day long. It hasn't changed it. It's still happening, you know. More so than it was 7 years ago.
Can you tell me something about the sexual practices going on at the ranch or at Spots? What the sex life is like?
Well, that's a chamber of thought that is held in person.
Okay.
It's held in this respect that my moral fibers are not of Hustler magazine. My moral fibers are not of the loose and promiscuous nature that they would project upon me. In other words, if this returned sex paranoid would have me doing all kinds of lascivious things because in his lugubrious brain he would be doing those things. And it's the same principle. A guy said, oh, he had all those girls, but actually he didn't have all those girls. Those girls were lucky to have him around, is the way I felt about it. And each one of them knew that. I didn't hold anything over nobody in respect that if you didn't tell me the truth, you wasn't right with me, I'd just run you off, you know. It's the same principle with the sex. The sex is not like the LA Star magazine. And I wasn't selling sex, and I wasn't projecting any distortion or perversion in any sex. We had a different lifestyle that is would compare it with the old lifestyles years and years ago, where well, you can compare it to many things. Like that would be too lengthy a conversation to even get into, and it's actually not understood until it's understood. I don't know how to explain it. You have to clean your mind out from all the distortions. See, here's the thing. In your mind's outside, sex and violence are associated. You release the sex, you release the violence. In other words, like,
No, I think they're two separate things.
they are two separate things, but I said associated. In other words, you see a guy, he wins the broad when he shoots the villain in the street, you know, and the cowboy's got the big iron on his hip, and he pulls out his fading symbol, and he kills the villain, and he goes off and rides off to sunset with the good lady, see?
Right.
But then after that, the imagination keeps going on. Then they take their clothes off, and they go through all the things you do. Well, they've got the two of them associated, sex and violence. The reason they go watch the automobile races so they can see an accident. Or they watch the football, that's a sex thing. Or the baseball is a sex thing, when they hit the ball and they play with the fading symbols, and they were smoking a cigarette. It's a sex thing. You know, in other words, just writing. There's so many things that are associated with sex. Practically everything is associated with sex because that's a creative drive that man creates with and destroys with.
How about with Leslie, though? Do you remember her in that connection?
No, not that much. Leslie and Bobby were pretty much together. Leslie and Bobby brought Leslie up to the ranch, and she was a bright, effervescent child, you know. And they were two young couple, and they looked good together. You know, they sang together, danced together, did what they did together. I didn't put no restrictions on it, and I think that's where I was wrong. I didn't have any rules because I was an outlaw. Anything you did was okay. You know, if you were doing something, if you shit in the living room, I was moving in the next room. It didn't blow my mind at all, you know. Now, if you come in the next room, I feel you're carrying your shit around to me, then I'm liable to say, now look here, mister, you got to quit carrying your shit to me. And in the next room I go into, if you come in that one, you're not going to fall in a hole. Because I might say a little something for you to say, hey, you know, like, you're doing this to yourself. Like a lot of fights and shootings and cuttings that I've been in wasn't my fault. I had no choice. In other words, when you live as an outlaw, you have to be your own policeman. You have to be your own judge, your own jury. compensated balance. So you need a representative alongside your president to represent your love and to represent the crimes that are not criminal. Like those children that jumped up and did that were not criminals. They didn't do it for the practice of anything other but the illusion that was created in them by you. Take responsibility for it yourself. Don't say, well, Charlie created the illusion in me. I may have been an instrument in bringing them to the thought of the illusion. But when Jerry Rubin rose up and says, get a knife and change your clothes and go kill your mom and dad. When A.B. Hoffman said, overthrow the government in the name of so-and-so and the anarchist cookbook, and they sold 100 million copies of Do It Now, and then they sold another 1 million copies of Kill Your Parents and Kill This and Rise Up Against the Establishment, and then the times they are a change, and he come around and blame it all on Charlie. You dig? In other words, all that shit was already going on before Charlie got out. You can dump it on Charlie and lock Charlie in the cell, but that isn't alleviating the situation. That's only compounding it and making it worse. He brought it down to another level. It's like when Leary snitched and played his game, he lost all of his children, faith in all of his children, so they dumped off. Now they're all right with me. Oh, what do I do? I'm this, I'm ready to do anything for you. I'll die for you, I'll do this, and I can't write them all and tell them, hey, look, you don't even see me. You see a reflection of the district attorney. This is not me. They're all trying to be like me in respect of what the district attorney said I was like. And I say, hey, that isn't it. You take an image and you put it in the basement, everybody's trying to follow that image downstairs. So it's the same thing. Like those kids are not criminal. Those kids are not criminal. And the president gets up, he talks about issues on TV, and Nixon cries on television, and they talk about, and the kids and everybody that are communicating, they look at that and say, wow, working at the car wash, well, and they say, wow, man, fucking people are so far out of it that they don't even know what to do. You don't have the representation for the people that are on the bottom. And you got to kowtow to the foundation of your thought, or pretty soon you'll find yourself on an airfield to land on. Sure, you had all these planes and things up in the bombs and all that, but you go to the airport and there won't be no airport. Everybody be having a party there. And they'll party it onto the ground until you wake up and direct that thought. You have to direct it in a positive manner. You have to direct it with the truth. You can't fake it from it. Because there's too many of these youngsters, man, that just ain't gonna go for the faith. You got to do it right. So to do it right, it's just a simple thing. Live and let live. As long as you won't let live, then you ain't got no let live coming back. It's the same thing. A king breaks his own rule. He gets his own justice. It's as old as time itself. The old banker that comes in and throws the stick at the king's feet. He says, here, Saul, you broke your law. You married your sister. You fornicated the world. Now you're going to fall. And Saul, not me. Rome will never fall. You dig what I'm saying? And they always went through the same changes. Well, this time, brother, we cannot fall. Because if we fall, we'll blow the whole world up. So we ain't going to fall. We won't fall. But what you got to do is you got to take and say it, part of it. And then you squeeze the other thought out. And pretty soon, you have to fix it. You have to fix it and you understand it. Just the truth. You don't have to crucify me. You don't have to nail me up on no cross. Show me anything.
What about this idea of public skelter? Was that your idea?
That was this attorney's idea.
That wasn't
Just a
something
song.
you talked about with
It was a song. Let me explain it. Helter-skelter means literally confusion.
certainly the
How long has confusion been coming down in society?
an awful long time.
All right, I'll give you an example. I get out in 1950, and the music's going da 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 da, and the people are walking. I said, I'm going down to the super. Then pretty soon, the music goes, you get out 54, and it's going da 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 da. People are walking all fast and say, I'm going down to the supermarket. So then pretty soon, you get locked up and get back out in 58, and the music's going da 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 da. I'm going down to the supermarket, and I'm super very fast. You say, wow, man, you're speeding up, and you go up. You get locked up for 10 years, you come out in 67, they're going, and it's all about supermarket, everyone's going to be saying, God, damn, man, can't you see where your minds are going? You're going a million miles an hour. I got time, I gotta run, gotta make that money, gotta run, gotta do this, gotta run, gotta you say, wow, man, like this, everything's gonna go, the whole thing is gonna go mad at the pace it's going. You have to slow it down. That's what I did. did. I took the clocks away. I took the TV away. I went over on the side road and I sat down. I said, see these little butterflies here? They see, I said, these little butterflies are dying. I said, see that water? See, yeah, that water's getting bad. I could have told you this drought was coming. You know why we got this drought? Because your Feather River Project, you put $600 million in there to make jobs for people. You put in that Feather River Project and you drained all precipitation off the land. You killed hundreds of thousands of plants and hundreds of thousands of animals. How are you going to get any rain when the water from the land won't go up to the sky? So all you did is cut your own throat when you did that for $1 bill. Now why did they do that? So that they could drain Chatsworth Reservoir and put in a housing project. There's another $600 million. So when you get around to it, there's $1,500 million telling you what to do. So you're actually robots to your own money. So you turn around and say, this guy's a robot. That guy will do anything for $1, partner. Look what he's done for $1 for that book. Look how much money he's made on that book. How much shit and how many people have been killed behind that already. Which book started? Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter's been coming down. Helter Skelter's been the confusion that's in the minds of the social consciousness. Here's the kids talking. I'll trade you a Joe DiMaggio baseball card for a Baker Ruth baseball card. Now here's what the kids are saying now. I'll give you a Watergate cover-up for a Martin Luther King cover-up. I'll trade you a JFK cover-up for a so-and-so cover-up. That's the only thing they're thinking is cover-ups. You got one cover-up right after another cover-up, after another cover-up, and after another cover-up, and about their hands around cover-up. And you got the other cover-up, someone's going, the only cover-up that you ain't got is Manson. He's guilty. Everybody knows that. Everything else is alright. But everything else is a cover-up on Manson. And as soon as Manson's gone, you're going to fall dead in your face, buddy. Because they're going to hold you all up inside this penitentiary.
You feel like saying anything about what happened at the LaBianca house?
What happened at the LaBianca house? Ask someone that was at the LaBianca house.
I have. Leslie Van Houten has told me her version of it.
And if she's honest with you, she'll never tell you that I told her to do anything other than what she wanted to do.
She says that you instructed them to go into the house.
Okay, that's what she said.
She says you wanted those people killed.
Okay, that's what she said. And that was her understanding of it.
What did you say?
If I was the lawyer, and I could call them up one at a time, I'd show you where I wasn't even there. What do you think? I said, so-and-so. Comes up to me and he says, hi. I say, hi. He said, how you doing? I said, how you doing? He said, pretty good. He said, how's it going today? I said, how's your day going? He said, oh, pretty good. He said, sure it's hot. I said, yeah, it's a little hot. He said, but the wind just come up and cooled it off a little bit. I said, yeah, it's kind of cool, isn't it? He said, what do you think about so-and-so? I said, well, I don't know. What do you think about it? Well, I think so-and-so. Well, so-and-so. What about what they say about it? Well, they said such and so forth. And I just hold his attention to it. Then he tells me all his problems. I say, well, that's nice. And ain't nothing I can tell because he has to talk to himself.
Okay, what you seem to be saying to me, and I want to check this out with you, is that if people, including Leslie Van Houten, killed, it was because they wanted to kill.
Well, I don't even know whether she did kill. I didn't see her kill anyone.
But you're saying that whatever they did was their own decision and reflected what they themselves wanted to do.
Right.
And you're telling them to do it.
I feel this. I take responsibility for my actions. And there's nothing that I wouldn't face what I did, what I do, and anything that I would do. I confront that. You can see me standing before you,
Sure.
you know.
Sure.
I can confront any situation, and I have confronted all situations in the respect of I take responsibility for my actions. Then they say, well, you're everybody, and you're God, and you're the devil, so you have to take responsibility for all of our actions. So I take responsibility for social consciousness, for a world I didn't create, for 19 presidents playing 15,000 base play games, all of your judges and your attorney generals and your governors and your so on and so forth, and they walk by my cell and take me off every day. And I'm responsible for everything that you guys are doing today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, you know. I'm responsible. If I'm responsible, and I'm the reason, and I take all the responsibility, then put me in a position where I can do something about it. Don't give me the responsibility for all these things and say, oh, well, it's all your blame. Check the words, brother. The words go like, the blame holds, on one hand, you have the blame, on the other hand, you have the reason. You have the praise, you have the glory. On the other hand, you have the opposite. The two opposites actually meet. The opposites meet. You want to give Carter all the praise and where's our minds at? We've lost our minds here. What do? We've lost our mind. Let him give you a peanut farm and tell you that we'll have an energy crisis and he'll invent something and he'll walk around. He's not really sure of himself and black people are running you all to death. You know, I say, if you're going to give me something, if you're going to give me a hand, you deal me a hand of cards and then you say, sit down, you can't play them. You give me a cult leader. I'm not a cult leader. Don't know anything about a cult leader. You give me a family. I don't have no goddamn family. Stand on my own 2 feet. People come up around me, they do what I say do. If they don't, they get the hell away from me. What they do is their own affair. They ride their own beef. That's convict law. If you get busted doing something, and I didn't have nothing to do with it, you ride your beef, I'll ride my beef. They knew this. I said, what you do? I said, what do you want to do? They said, I want to do so-and-so and so-and-so. I said, are you willing to take responsibility for that? Say, I'm willing to take responsibility for so-and-so and so-and-so. I said, the life you take is your own, buddy. Now I know that. I'm willing to do that. I said, and that's you. It hasn't got anything to do with me. The dispensation of the truth. They go all the way up to the Pope and the Holy Father and anybody else that knows the truth will tell you the same thing.
Could people leave if they wanted to?
Yeah, it was a door that's broke on both ways. In fact, I used to throw rocks at them to run them off.
You said there were 150 people that came through, so most of those people must have left quickly, didn't they? They weren't there very long.
Yeah, a lot of people left real fast. It was good, too. Then I could be by myself. I didn't have to put up with all the fucking confusion. See, I got out and I was enjoying my world. I love my world.
Why do you think some stayed and some left fairly quickly?
Well, fear, insecurity.
How about the ones that were attracted? What kept them there?
They were already there. When you come up there, if you was to walk up and say, bring me a cup of coffee, I'll bring you a cup of coffee. I said, how you doing? He said, pretty good. I want to ride one of them horses. I said, which one? I said, I got a horse.
In other words, they liked what was that?
Yeah, it's you. It was whatever you made it. You told everybody, I want everybody to sit down. Everybody sit down. He said, I want everybody to stand up. Everybody stand up. We'll look at you. He'd say, well, I think so-and-so, so-and-so. Okay, think you need more. It doesn't matter. It doesn't move anything. It doesn't do anything. What you think is just relative to your own confusion.
I'm not clear on one thing. Was there a lot of ordering around, or were people allowed to do whatever they wanted to do?
No, there was no ordering. I'd get up to something like this and say, Barney's cleaned out. Someone else would say, that does, don't it? And then I'd look over, nobody's cleaning the barn. I'd go clean out myself. Nobody clean out. I'd say, well, you guys had a chance to clean it out, now I'll clean it out. I'll make a game out of it. Put a bandana on my neck and a straw hat, and I go out there and I start singing. I started cleaning out, and they said, wow, man, you sure having a good time. Can we help you? I said, he said, well, we want to help you. I said, you had a chance. I got up this morning and told you Barney cleaned out. You getting free rent? He said, yeah. I said, you getting plenty of food? Yeah. I said, you get rest last night? He said, yeah. I said, you get a sleeping bag last night? He said, yeah. I said, got all that for free, yeah. He said, yeah. I said, you ever do any work around here to get anything? Everybody wants to live in the world, but nobody wants to work for it. They want to work for their own personal little fucking hot pot bullshit. They get a car payment and work for a new thing to impress someone else that don't give a fuck. You dig what I'm saying? And they burn up the earth and tear up the resources for a bunch of shit that doesn't have any fucking relative value except anything but a baseball game. And then come back and say, you build a machine in those people's minds by ordering them around. I don't build no machines in nobody's mind. I got you.
Thank you very much for talking with me.
Yeah, you should be able to find enough in there to
It's been very helpful.
twist it around.
I hope that won't happen.
Well, if you do, it'll be twisted for your thought, the one that you live in. You live with that wherever you go.
What would you call twisting around? What's your definition of that?
Well, twisting around is the interpretation that you hold over me towards the court. See? In other words, like, I pick this up, and I say, I can walk out of here alive. You think what I'm saying? I'm giving you the life. I don't have to. But I really love you. I love you more than you love yourself, more than you have the wisdom and knowledge to understand yourself. I realize there's only one thought in this. There's only one guy leaving out of this room. Nick,
I'll try to be very sure about it.
I know you'll take me to the courtroom, and what you say will reflect right on my fucking ass. If you say I'm a bad guy and I make people do things, that'll reflect on me.
I'm not going to just talk about it that way.
Let me explain this to you.
Sure.
Leslie's a beautiful person. And Leslie's been made bitter by the penitentiary. She's been made bitter by my own decision according to the decision that I've already told her. I told her the minute that people came to me with it, you know. I said, you love the world and you wanted to do this for the world, did it, you committed yourself. If I commit myself to what I believe in, and I'm standing for what I believe in, and I'm in jail for what I believe in, that's the price I'm paying for what I believe in. That's the price I'm paying to bring the change so that my children will have a chance to grow up. If I had to spend the rest of my life in that prison cell up there, and it fixes something for my children, I'm justified in my own death, and I'm justified in my own paradise, and I'm justified in my own existence. And I'm happy with myself, and knowing myself. I have to know what's inside of me. I have to know what's inside of me. It's the same thing. Woman is basically a reflection of her fear. It isn't my fault. I didn't create her. She's a reflection of all her fears. And I did reflect upon those children. And I did affect those children. And I did cause many things. I don't have much of a conscience because I was raised up without one. But I do have a little love inside myself. And I watch this. And I say this to myself. You have two rooms of people. One called society that is supposed to be right. You have a circle of people in society that make a law, and that law is for everybody in that society. For you, as well as your children, everybody. Anybody that doesn't abide by that law does not belong in that room. That's the truth. When I break the law in that room, I'm taken from that room and I'm put in another room, whether it be in a death chamber or whether it be in a prison barn or whatever it be. This is the crux, a very important upper point for your own understanding. Okay? The minute that anyone plays God over the second chamber, that doesn't do nothing but backlash. It's like a wave that goes in and it comes back out. And it goes in and it comes back out. If you don't have the power of discretion, you lose the now of the thought that you live in the United States. But the levels of the now thought that you live in the United States, the now in the alley is much different than the now in the courtroom. When the now jumps off in the alley and you take it to the courtroom, you're only trying a reflection of what has already happened.
Sure.
Well, if you don't look at the root of what's happened and why it happened, then you're not really balancing your own social consciousness, you know. If you take it off and you sell it and you distort it and you picture it up and you paint it up for some old woman to vicariously experience a bunch of fear thrills and play with her dildo, there's your whole fucking United States of America. It's in a dildo and a big fat old woman who controls Washington, D.C. You know, if that's the premise of your thought and that's the thought that you call society, I wouldn't want to be in it anyway. I'm glad to be in my prison cell. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you take a life, you owe a life. It's that simple. The life you take is yours in this room. So you take these people out of that room and put them in this room. So you take a place like Death Valley, for example.
Yep.
Block off all the entrances to Death Valley. Say, you people broke these laws, right? I say, yeah. And you're responsible for breaking these laws. I'm taking you out of this society, and I'm putting you over here. Now you make up your own. You're not coming back over here, but you don't belong here. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
But it's the same principle. You can't expect me and you to abide by the laws when the senators and the congressmen are drunk and sucking each other's dick and knocking down and fucking and doing everything else when the guy in Hustler magazine can pay off the judge. Do you know what I'm saying? Patty Hearst can get away with murder. And some other woman over here can shoot her boyfriend in the back and she gets 30 days and the judge tells her, well, you come in when you get a chance, honey. In other words, when fear controls your courtrooms, then your courtrooms aren't even there. It's controlled by fear and money and bullshit. Well, if you're going to do that, it doesn't bother me at all. I'm still just doing my time, and when it all falls down, I might be able to see a little sunshine. But whenever you guys think you know what you're doing, get done fucking with it. It's going to be people like me, insane, fucking crazy people who are going to have to